Joan, you know more than most how much ELNET UK is needed right now. Please tell us about your experience of the climate towards Israel and the Jewish people in the UK over the past few years.
As you know, Paul, I was elected Labour MP in 1997 and served as a minister in Tony Blair's administration. But in the last few years in Parliament, I started to feel really serious concerns over anti-Semitism in the party. Jeremy Corbyn, I'm afraid, was a man who presided over a culture of anti-Semitism and hatred of Israel. And I could not tolerate that. There were two, very well respected and talented Jewish MPs who were so harassed they left the Labour Party. They were effectively pushed out for being Jewish, for their support of Israel. At that point, I knew that I had to stand up and be counted. For me, it was, and still is, a moral issue. I'm obviously relieved that the British public absolutely rejected Corbyn's dogmatic worldview at the 2019 general election. But believe me, Labour still has a long way to go. It needs to root out the hard left and its influence in the party. But this is only part of a far bigger picture that we're seeing across Europe and the rising tide of anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism. Allowing this to happen, to infect our society, it's just not acceptable. Whenever we see anti-Semitism, we have to call it out. During the 1980s, I worked as an oral historian for a time at the Imperial War Museum, and that meant I interviewed people and the horror of their experience and their memories and their loss. It stayed with me. I think it gave me a deeper understanding and a connection to the experience they had, an emotional connection. Anti-Zionism is modern-day anti-Semitism, and we have to call that out as such. And it's very clear to me that you can't fight anti-Semitism unless you fight anti-Zionism. We have to say very clearly that those who single out the world's only Jewish state for criticism and deny the Jewish people alone the right to self-determination are anti-Semites, pure and simple.
I couldn't agree more. This month alone, we've seen a frightening rise in anti-Semitism, the worst month of anti-Semitism ever recorded, and 93% of these incidents were directly related to Israel-Palestine. We saw anti-Zionist convoys purporting to be pro-Palestinian, but which travelled into the heart of the Jewish community in London and harassed random Jews. You and I spoke at the Israel Solidarity Rally in the same month, and I faced pressure to cancel the event for fear of reprisal, something we've never experienced before. This is why it's absolutely crucial that ELNET is established in the UK, and we fight to respond. By bringing ELNET to the UK, we can change the nature of the debate surrounding Israel. Is especially relevant post-Brexit. It means we can talk to leaders, policymakers, journalists, opinion formers across the political spectrum, because ELNET unique and ELNET is non-partisan, unlike any other. Israel has every right to be judged by the standards that other countries are judged by. And that is why we will work tirelessly to ensure we will work with our affiliates to create opportunities to ensure our parliamentarians here know that if they support Israel, they will not be pariahs, that their European counterparts are doing the same thing, that they are part of a wider movement to speak up for Israel.